People who've hooked up on Craigslist, what was the experience like? Went out to get drinks with a girl I met on Craigslist. After about 3 hours of getting complete trashed together, we walk back to my place to have sex. Upon walking up the steps, she starts to get nervous, and once we get to my apartment, she is sweating bullets. We get inside my apartment, and when I close the door, she does this cartoonish wipe of brow and exhale. We have the sex and she leaves shortly after. I don't see her again until I see her coming out of the apartment across from mine with the neighbor, where she quickly introduces him to me as her boyfriend. I met my last girlfriend via furniture for sale. I had just moved to a new, larger house and wanted theater seating for my entertainment room. I browsed and saw some pics of chairs I liked, exchanged a few emails, and drove 45 minutes to pick them up. They were being sold by a beautiful girl who originally got them for her ex. Up until I loaded them onto my truck, everything was a standard business transaction. Just as I was leaving, I thought, you may only pass this way but once, and in a sheepish way I asked if there were any good places to eat around there and that I was in the mood for sushi. When she shared a nearby place's location, I summoned all the courage I had and asked if she would join me that evening. It happened that she was hungry as well, so she accepted. The rest was history, and we both enjoyed telling people that we met by a Craigslist online advertisement, just to see their faces, before we shared the details. This is not my personal experience, just one of many sexual encounters a friend of mine has facilitated through Craigslist. He calls Craigslist his go-to girl, and as he has no real standards, so I can see it working to his advantage. According to him, he answered one of those couples posts, the one where it's a husband and wife looking for a number 3. Well, he shows up, and it's a woman in her early 30s and a man in his 50s who obviously has a bit of money. The house was pretty big. Nice interior, even a billiard room with a snooker table. They greet him, have a couple bottles of wine together, then start to get busy. Here is where things start to deviate. The young wife starts to undress, but the husband just sits in a chair drinking wine, while telling my friend to let her have it. He ended up fucking the wife 2 or 3 times in a row, all while the husband just sat back and watched with a smile on his face. I've never used it myself, but I used to live upstairs from a girl that I am pretty sure used it constantly. Every night when I'd come home, she'd be hanging out on her porch with some guy. The male was rarely a repeat. One night, she got really drunk, and we heard her get into a fight with whichever guy was over that night. She was screaming at him, and I definitely heard her call him Billy. I was hanging out on my patio with friends, saw her come out on her porch crying, and proceed to call 6-7 guys. She used 6 or so names, trying, at times begging to get one of those guys to come over. It was very strange. This makes me sad. She sounds like she was struggling with some real codependency issues. Straight male here. Got laid at Craigslist once. Just sent a straightforward, honest email describing myself and my intentions. I'm also active on OkCupid. So that carried over well enough. She replied, we made small chat about why we were resorting to CL, etc. Eventually moved to texting. We texted on and off for a week or so before actually meeting up. We had exchanged a few pictures, and though I hadn't voice verified, I believed she was who she claimed to be. She wasn't a stunner, but neither was I, and I figured we were both in the same boat. So we met up at Starbucks, and I was pleasantly surprised. She was a bit prettier and much easier to talk to than I had anticipated. We talked about work and pets over coffee, then I got in my car and followed her to her apartment. Go in, smoke a bowl, sit up on the couch and watch an episode of something. I was having trouble figuring out how to go from conversation straight to what we were both going for. Eventually she stood up, took off her shirt, and said, "Are we doing this?" And we did. Fairly normal, nothing weird. Unfortunately, all safe. Afterwards, she says, "Don't feel like you have to hang out any longer than you want to." I said, "Thanks, I had some other plans to get to," and left. We didn't talk again. This was in February this year. I was down in Texas for work. I live in North Dakota. Don't know why I got the idea. I had never even used Craigslist before, but I decided to get on there and check out the casual encounters section. Found an ad where the girl was looking for a friend with benefits who was tall, skinny, and into nerdy shit. I figured I fit the bill pretty well. So I sent her a pic and she replied with a face pic of her own. We talked for about an hour or so on the phone and then she sent me her address and I headed over after buying condoms. When she opened the door she was severely overweight and did not at all look like her face picture she had sent me. Before my brain could process this, however, she immediately shoved her face into mine and started making out with me. Not a word spoken between us. At this point I just accept that this is happening and let my penis take the wheel. She was ridiculously sloppy during the actual encounter and was just rubbing her tongue on my face for a good minute. I was doing fine with the whole thing until she turned around while on top of me and I then saw the hairiest butthole I have ever seen in my life. I'm talking 70s porn hairy. The front had hair but it had at least been tamed somewhat. This was something else. Situation ended. I told her I had to leave because of work in the morning and that I would call her, went back to my hotel, showered, slept. Did not bring my phone with me to work the next day, and when I got back to my hotel room I had 35 missed calls from her, including 3 voicemails of her crying hysterically for the entire 2-minute duration. I did not return these calls. All in all, it was a terrible situation and I would not recommend it to anyone who values their self-decency. A fraternity brother of mine claimed to have been hooking up with chicks from Craigslist. He told me about one that gave him an address and when he went it was some house with an unlocked door. He went in and proceeded to get a blowy in pure darkness. Finished and left. I asked him how he knew it wasn't a dude and he said, she had long hair. I felt it. I responded with, guys can have long hair too. He shouted back in defense, it was a girl. I could tell he never even questioned it until I said dudes could have long hair too. Don't know if he still has random hookups from Craigslist, but I never let him forget the Ladyman incident. Schrodinger's BJ. Ah yes, the age-old thought experiment. In the dark, the blower is both male and female at the same instance until observed, sometimes even after being observed. My friend sent me the post. It was 2 girls, looking for 2 guys to fuck before they went on vacation with their families. We were really sketched out, but it seemed legit. We went over, sat around very awkwardly for a little bit and then things split up into one of the girls' bedrooms and the couch. I wore a condom the entire time, but I always have a hard time coming if I have one on. So brilliant 19-year-old me takes it off. I finished. We left. TL doctor I got chlamydia. Edit, ID not come in her. I'm a Brit living in America. I was extremely lonely one night so I decided to browse Craigslist. Somehow I ended up on the casual encounters section of the website and began speaking to a lady. Pictures were exchanged and she seemed fairly good looking so we arranged to meet. As I approached the car I realized she looked a lot different from the pictures. About 100 pounds different. I seriously contemplated running out the car as we approached a red light. In the end I thought fuck it, I'm here now, and finished as quick as I could and even got a ride back home. I posted my story a year or so ago in a similar thread, and it got a few laughs, so I'll repost it here. I fucked a crazy from Craigslist once. Bitch was nuts. I was in Tucson trying to sort my life out, and I wanted to make new friends. So I posted in the strictly platonic section explaining who I was and that I was looking for a pal or 2. After a few days I get some responses and everything seems cool. So around the 4th response was an attractive female, large but not fat, curvy but not chubby. So physically, she was right up my alley. But since it was the platonic section, I wasn't expecting anything to come of it. Anyway, we meet up at the duck pond and we're chatting it up and things are going smooth. Almost too smooth. I wasn't even laying groundwork, just being a friendly dude. And she was moving in on me, moving in fast. I say why the fuck not, and roll with it, and we end up at her place, since I was crashing on my sister's couch. As soon as I walk in, I see terrariums. Seriously. All over her house were tanks of snakes, and I'm not talking about a snake enthusiast with around 4-5 pets. I'm talking full out snake breeder for the sake of keeping them for minions and taking over the world. This chick could tie all of them together and go cave diving and shit, but seriously, snakes all over. That was bad enough, but my dick isn't saying no. Although my head was screaming GTFO dipshit. Anyway, we do the deed, and it was hardly enjoyable considering I was watching all around me for her to command the boas to hold me down so she could rip my head off and feed me to her friends. As I lay there and say it's getting late and I should roll out, I hear someone coming into the apt. So I ask her if she has a roommate. No. Well, yes, sorta. This is the moment where I've got my shoes in my hands and my shirt slung over my shoulder, bolting for the window when she says this. No, it's not what you think. I relax a little bit, hoping to hear her say it was her brother or some other relative, as long as they wouldn't hurt me for banging the snake queen. It's my ex-boyfriend. We split up a week ago, and we decided to stay living together. Figuratively, shitting myself. I head again for the window when this burly-ass lumberjack beast of a bear man built like a brick shithouse walks right into the room, and continues to the bathroom to get something, all the while I'm standing in my boxers with my pants around my ankles and my shirt over my shoulder. He emerges from the bathroom about 5 seconds later with one hand behind his back, and I'm sure it's all over. But I'm frozen solid with fear and can't move an inch. He speaks, "Hey dude." I respond, hey. He advances toward me, and the chick is freaking out about her fucking snakes like, "Don't hurt my babies, Chad. You be careful in here." And he pulls from behind his back the metal curtain rod he ripped from the wall in the bathroom. I boogie. I dash for the window as quick as you can with your pants around your ankles and try to crawl out. He swings that rod and fucking whips it over my ass just as I fall out into the yard. I throw my shoes on and pull up my pants with speed comparable to that of Captain Falcon and jump fences until I don't recognize where I am or how long I've been running. I call my sister from a payphone and get her to pick me up. Never using Craigslist to meet people again.